We're starting today in Proverbs, the 6th chapter, and the 1st verse. And the heading in my Bible is Practical Warnings. Sometimes we don't get tangled up in the deep religious issues. Sometimes the things that bring us down and destroy our Christian walk are the little practical things, the things that add up and end up causing trouble. Sometimes it's not the big rock down at the end that really causes you to stumble. It's the little rock down here that got you hopping, so you hit the one down there. And that's what these are. These are practical warnings on how to live your life. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if you have given your pledge for a stranger, if you are snared in the words of your mouth, caught in the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, and save yourself, for you have come into the hand of your neighbor. There's nothing wrong with giving security for your neighbor. Or giving your pledge to help a stranger. However, when that happens, you're stuck. You are stuck. And sometimes that turns out really bad, doesn't it? I can tell you of so many people, good Christian people, that do not talk to one another anymore because of a loan of less than $100. Or buying a car from a friend. In some ways, this is saying the proverb that we've all heard, that a loan often loses itself and a friend. You know, that's what he's trying to warn against, is because when you put up, when you say, I'm good for it, you're good for it. And giving a pledge for a stranger, yeah, it's good, but you have to be careful, because it can come back on you and you are snared by what you said. Oh, you mean that a person is bound by their word? Yes. That's what he's saying here. Once you've said that, that's it. You're stuck. For you've come into the hands of your neighbor. In other words, you are now in their hands. Your fate is determined by what they do. Go, hasten, and plead urgently with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep and your eyelids no slumber. Don't wait until it's too late. Make it right. Make sure that things go. Don't just sit there and wait until he defaults on the loan. Figure out what you can do. Maybe you have to go to your neighbor and say, hey, can I renegotiate? Can I? Because I'm sure there's a lot of us here that have, at one time or another, co-signed either on paper or with a handshake for our relatives, and have to pay for it. And I have a little bit of different advice. Mine is, don't loan or sign for anything that you're not willing to give away. If you're not willing to give it away, no good. I've loaned my kids a lot of money because they wanted to loan and pay it back. I have no idea how much it was because I didn't write it down. If I had wanted it back, I wouldn't have given it to them. I'm just that serious. Because it is. You're putting yourself in their hands. You're putting friendship, family at risk. So my way of still wanting to do good but not be caught is, if I loan it to you, it's only a loan if you want to pay it back. Because if you don't want to pay it back, that's just fine. I wouldn't give it to you. That's just, I've learned that for myself, that's the easiest way to not have any problems. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. This little bit here is connected with that above, but it's also wise advice on its own. It is wise advice that I find hard to take. I like to put things off. Well, it'll get better. Solomon says, don't do that. Don't keep waiting for things to get better. Don't push it aside and, well, we'll think about that tomorrow. Debbie's looking going, yeah, he does have trouble with that. That's his problem. He does. Yes, it is. I really I struggle with that. Just personally, it's easier for me to do that, but that's bad advice. Handle things when they come up, as if you were being hunted. Because you know what? That's the way it ends up. As if you're being hunted. I'm not going to tell that story. Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in the summer, gathers her food in harvest. Don't be somebody who has to be forced to do the things that are necessary. We all know that a teenager will not clean their room until the third time you yell at them, or until you pick up all their clothes and throw it out in the trash. You know, we all know that. They need an officer. They need a chief. They need someone to tell them what to do. But godly men and women need to be like the ant and not have anybody to have to tell them what to do. They need to take care of their physical needs. And it's important to accept the fact that physical needs are important. So many times in history, and maybe even with people you know, they get so caught up with spiritual things and what they think should be done that they don't take care of the physical. They don't do what they need to do. They just keep waiting for the Lord to take care of them. like that just they don't prepare for themselves. And we as godly people need to do that. Yes, you know what? Sometime in your life you are going to need help. Now maybe it's when you're a teenager or a 20-year-old and just married. Maybe it's when you're 85 and you've tried to plan everything out and sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes you thought you had everything planned for retirement and everything will work out, and it just didn't. And that's okay. It happens. But the thing is we need to do our best to take care of ourselves. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber. Little sleep, little slumber, I'll just a little bit more. I'll do it tomorrow. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. And the next thing you know, you're poor. Next thing you know, you've lost everything. On a TV show recently, this girl's trying to get into college and was trying to get a special loan that came from the military because her dad was in the military, and she let the filing date pass. A little slumber, a little sleep, a little, and poverty can come upon you. And walk like an armed man. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech, winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, points with his finger, with a perverted heart devises evil. He's explaining that there is a second way to take care of everything. It's evil, but it's out there. A worthless man. Well, that's strong speech, isn't it? But they go about with crooked speech. White man speak with forked tongue. Crooked speech. Says one thing, does another, sometimes tells a real lie, sometimes just hints at a lie, winks, signals, but with his heart he devises evil, constantly sowing discord. Therefore calamity will come upon him suddenly. In a moment he will be broken beyond healing. Sometimes I like to read verses like this, because you know what? We don't always see that happening, but it happens. Those people who do wrong, it catches up with them. It will, sooner or later, it will catch them and it will break them. That's the thing sometimes you have to think of when you've been taken by those with slick speech and whatever, because it happens. We've all been there at one time or another. Although I will say one thing with that, no matter how much they try to do all that, there's a saying, and it's very true. You can't con an honest man. If you only want what you're supposed to get, it's real hard for somebody to run a con on you. When you get greedy, that's when it happens. And by the way, that Nigerian prince is not sending that money to you. There are 6 things that the Lord hates. 7 that are an abomination to him. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. These are things that God hates. Proud eyes. That excessive pride. He hates that. And here's one. I don't think we like this one here. Lying tongue. We don't like this verse, and we don't like the one that says all liars have their place in the burning fire. We don't like that one, do we? Because that's the first thing children learn before they're even old enough to recognize sin. I didn't eat that cookie, Mommy. I didn't eat it. God hates that lying tongue. That's out there with all of these terrible things. Hands that shed innocent blood. I'm going to throw something out there. You can take it for whatever it's worth. But I am going to say here, I myself find it really hard to find any blood more innocent than that of the unborn. You can just take that for whatever it's worth. A heart that devises wicked plans. Feet that make haste to run to evil. And I'm going to skip down to one who sows discord among brothers. Lying and stirring up trouble amongst brothers and sisters and friends and relatives. They're all in the same category with murder, with shedding of innocent blood. We don't like to think that. We have to be on guard against all of these sins, because none of these sins are things that can't slip upon you. You can get into a position and boom. Be very careful that we stay away from all of these things that God hates. If anybody needs to answer the invitation in a public way, you can come now as we stand.